I am a 49-year-old man with a vision board. Okay? I got a vision board. You know what I mean? I am a 49-year-old man with a vision board. And the craziest thing to me is it's because I have so much clarity in what I want to accomplish in the future that I get highly detailed on what I want that vision board to look like. And then I Photoshop ideas and put it on there so I see it in the future. Listen to what I just said to you. I'm a 49-year-old man worth hundreds of millions of dollars who's arguably already incredibly successful that still uses a vision board as a tool to realize a bigger vision of my life in the future in detail. And it sounds absurd even when I say it. But man, it is such a great part of continually looking towards that better, more ideal, amazing future. So my subconscious and my conscious are constantly working on the plans and the strategies to get there. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to tell you everything that I got on that vision board so that you can wrap your head around what it's like for an adult man's vision board, for you to consider how to look at it yourself. Today, I'm digging in a bit to see it, believe it, do it, as you hear me tag the end of every single episode, which is, somewhat challenging for me. Got to come up with a different way to say it every single episode. Probably going to have to end up cutting together like, a little package of every single different way that I've said it over every 100+ episodes to see even what it sounds like. It'll have the same flow, I'm sure, but always those different words. But the concept is more of a continuous process than just sort of one idea, and it's this idea that you are in this continual state of creating a vision for the future, realizing that vision, and then going again, only on so many different layers, on big things, on small things, creating your weekend plans, and, from deciding in the future a job change that you want to attempt to create, or a place that you want to live. You're constantly needing to look out into the future, create a strategy, and then go and execute it, right? And for me, I am in this continuous state of relentlessly evaluating every day, every week, every month, every year, and looking at what do I have planned and what do I want the future to look like, and what are the things that I need to implement or the strategies I need to adapt to achieve that in the future. And then I chase after it. And then as I'm putting the energy into chasing it, what happens? I learn what's working, what's not working, what would I like to change, what do I need to adapt to get to where I want to go, or what did I like about something that really worked that I implement into a system or create it to be more consistent in my way of life. That's using see it, believe it, do it as this continual process. And, when I say see it, it really is about this idea of vision. And vision is not necessarily like, Arnold Schwarzenegger level. You got to have a vision. I was going to be Mr. Olympia, then I'm going to be the governor, then I'm going to be the greatest movie star of all time. Watch the documentary. He explains it almost identically. But he's right. He continually looked out into the future and saw what his potential was. But it's not necessarily about these big, giant ideas, although they are incredibly important. It's still about, even if you look out into the weekend, you have to have a vision for what you want to do for the weekend. And if your vision for the weekend is, I want to get up early and go for a hike with my girlfriend, then go golf with the boys just in time to come home and watch the UFC. Guess what? You laid out a vision for Saturday, and then you called everybody, let your girl know you had time for her finally, and let the boys know, hey, satisfying the girl so I can get out and golf with you, and then let's meet later tonight for the UFC. Again, you put together an entire strategy. You put a vision for it, even if it was 7 days out, and then you went and realized it on Saturday. And with high probability, you knew it was going to happen. And to me, if that's the small scale, what's the big scale, man? Well, the big scale is, I want to sell this company for $100 million. I want to become a doctor. I want to buy this house one day. My vision is to have a house in Hawaii and be retired and fly fish or surf every day, whatever that may be. That vision is so incredibly important, and it's on you to create the vision for the future that you want. It is 1,000 your responsibility to create that vision. You are the person that knows what you're capable of, and the only person that can actually create the vision for the future that you want. It's only you. It's your responsibility. And if you take the time to design that vision and really get clear on what you want the future to become, and then begin to pursue that, man, it's everything. Once you have that clear outcome of really where you want to go and what you want to do, it's now that plan and that strategy. And why I always say, believe it, is you don't know something is possible until you start to work on it, until you have a plan, before you can actually begin to create the belief that you actually think you can get there. And you have to start thinking about plans through the lens of not, necessarily like, oh, got to get it done, and then this is what we're going to do. The plan and the strategy will always just be the beginning. The plan and the strategy will always be the beginning, because then you've got to begin to test that plan and that strategy, move towards it, and ultimately begin to build the belief that it's possible, that you have in fact created a high probability of this idea becoming a reality, or you realize how much you have to learn or what you need to do in order to actually achieve the vision that you set out. And again, when you think about it on the micro scale, it's really easy. When you understand something really well and you know that you're going to plan the weekend and you're going to call your friends and you know how to get to the park that you're going to hike at, and it's something that your girl wants to do, and you told your friends, they cleared their schedules, we're all going to go golf, then we're going to go watch the UFC. That's the easy one that you built the entire plan for, that now then is easy with the high probability of executing it. And it gets more difficult the bigger and further out that vision is, but you're in this constant state of going through that same process. And if you just realize that you keep going through the exact same process over and over, no matter what it is you choose to do in life, and you begin to put a framework for that and get better and better at defining an outcome and then creating that strategy and pathway to achieve it, that's where the energy is generated. That's where the belief is generated. And it's a skill set that you will get better and better at doing over time. And it's so easy when we think about it on the micro scale of like doing simple things, of looking out into the future, and I want to eat tonight. I'm going to have sushi. I know where the sushi restaurant is. You call for a reservation. You drive there and enjoy the sushi. You still created that moment in time. That is 100% your responsibility of creating that. And if you were tired and didn't feel like driving and going to get sushi, you Postmates it. And you sit and watch a documentary. You created that moment in time. You decided, you looked out into the future, even if it is 1 hour into the future, and you assessed yourself on how you felt. You were too tired. You Postmates the same meal that you would have went out and enjoyed with a friend or your girl at a restaurant, based off of how you were feeling at the time, based off of that micro vision of how you wanted the future to unfold. And that is what see it, believe it, do it looks like. Now on the big scale, when you've got to design and build a big strategy, if you want to, make a big career move, make a move, start a company, take on some new hobby that you've got to develop a skill set at. All of these things now take a deeper strategy and have a level of probability that's going to require you to spend a lot more time and effort on developing the strategy and the plan to actually get there. And, the crazy thing is, if you understand something really well and look out into the future and you fully understand it, understand all the variables, what happens, you achieve it with high probability in a much easier way. And, you've heard me say in the past where goal understanding equals goal speed. Like the more you understand something, the more likely you're going to have success with it in a much faster way. And these bigger ideas that require a lot more leaps of faith, if you will, that require learning as you go and getting more understanding of what you need to learn to actually achieve it, is where things are much more complex. But the truth is, you've got to put in the work to develop the strategy so you believe it. And there's a fine line between getting prepared and being paralyzed. There is a fine line between getting prepared and paralyzed. Like you have got to put in the work of understanding everything that you need to do in order to achieve a vision so that you believe it's possible. But you can't spend so much time getting into the details that you never actually take the step to do it. Because you've got to jump into it to actually feel how your plan feels, to see if there's probability in it, and understand what are the things that you actually have to learn to get there in the first place. You can't just focus on just creating the plan. You've got to do it. You've got to take the action and inject that energy into it. And I think a lot of times, people get caught in what is the right level of preparation and when are you just stalling. And it's different for every single thing, and I've said in the past when I was developing the machine and really creating the entire process and continually learning more and evolving more, that I just kept pushing out when I was going to launch the machine by 1 year, by 2 years. And really, really smart people said, you're spending too much time creating it. Like, just get out. You got to get out and start it and see what works and doesn't work. And I think there was some truth to that as it related to how long I was taking. But I knew that I was continuing to learn and building a deeper understanding of all these things that I didn't quite understand as it was related to creating and building businesses. And so I didn't take anything that they said to me as like, oh, like, man, what am I doing? I'm paralysis through analysis, right? Like that wasn't what was happening to me. I knew that I needed to continually learn more because I realized that there were so many blind spots that I was uncovering while I was developing my strategy that I needed to keep going in order to develop the process for building companies completely, where I started the journey of just looking at it through the lens of like, oh, it's brand and business. Versus like really beginning to understand that, oh, it's operations, oh, it's finance, oh, it's marketing, oh, it's sales. Like as I began to discover all of that in developing the process, did it show to me that I had a much deeper plan that I had to organize before I launched the machine. But people said I was crazy. People said I was crazy and taking too much time. And again, it's on you to really, truly understand how much you have to put into it to learn it that creates the belief in you. And when you finally build a strategy or a plan where you're like, man, this can really work and it's time to go. When that crosses over, I would suggest to anybody, you should just keep working on your plan, your goals, your strategy over and over and over until it gets broken down into those clear milestones and you think to yourself, you feel that jolt of energy. Man, I believe this can happen. I really think I can do this. That's when you start. And then the universe is going to let you know real quick if you had the right plan or you were ready or not. because you will know in an instant, based off the progress that you're making in that strategy and that plan, whether or not you understood it enough to take this action. But you have to take the action, and you got to think about it more you got to push energy into it, because it's so easy to think about something over and over and wishfully think about the outcomes of this plan that you now believe in. And you are never going to fully understand what this plan is actually becoming until you take that action to do it. And when you think about it on a small scale, you decide you're going to go and spend the morning with your girlfriend on Saturday, then golf with the boys and go watch UFC that night. And it's a really clear plan, and you get down there and you're hiking and you fold an ankle. Oh, what happened? You stepped on a rock trying to get all fancy. You know what I mean? Trying to get that selfie. Step on a rock and fold your ankle. Well, your high probability vision for the day that was going to happen has now taken a turn, because the reality of life happening can change even the most well-designed vision and plan to achieve it. And again, that's extreme. You would, go into a depression, not be able to golf with your boys, start day drinking and be drunk by 7 and pass out and miss the UFC fight. Imagine that, you know what I mean? Depending on what type of lifestyle you live. But these are the things that can happen to you along the way. And what do you learn in the process of that? Well, you got to be careful next time you're out hiking when you double it up with some golf. The same way when you create a vision for a career, for a company, an idea you want to bring to life, you go through the process, you create it, you go to school to learn it, then you realize you're there and man, you're in the second milestone and you just don't like it. You just actually didn't like the process of learning this. And as you learned more about the career, it's like something that you don't get energy from. And hey, this may not be what I want to do. And it's on you to stop and re-engineer the vision of what you're going to put into for the future. And it's all these things happening on an ongoing basis as it relates to how it is your responsibility to continuously putting a vision into the future that you realize on an ongoing basis. You are in a nonstop creative vision loop. And when you think about see it, believe it, do it from a process, that's really everything that it is. You are the great creator of your existence. And so you have to continuously be looking out into the future, deciding the outcomes you want, creating the strategy, believing that it's possible, then taking the action and evolving and learning towards getting to that place that you envision would lead you to a better future. You got to get good at doing that on an ongoing basis. And it is a practice that I think everybody can build the awareness and understanding to actually do. It's not, it's not something that's done once, and it's not something that's only done a handful of times in life that is some big dramatic shift in your existence. There are those, but it's also, the way that you want to build and live your life requires you continuously looking out into the future, creating that strategy, and then taking the action to do it. It is 100% a part of leading yourself to a highly optimized, harmonious existence, a happy life. Everything that you want out of life will continually be created by you. You are the creator, and you are in a consistent, nonstop creation phase of your life from the beginning till the end. You never stop creating life. You never stop creating your time, and the body of work that is your time and the things that you did is your existence. And so you want to create that time with incredible intention and lead you towards experiencing as much joy as possible. And again, for me, what do? I push out deep into the future, and I like getting very specific on what I want to achieve. So, it informs my strategies that then I even put my goals to those strategies on a quarterly basis. So I'm just constantly looking out into the future of like, here's what I want to achieve, and then like, getting incredibly specific. And then I put it on a vision board. And then I put it on a vision board. A grown man and his vision board, and I find that looking at each one of these things every day motivates me, excites me, informs me to like continually keep thinking about it. And how do you get to these levels? So to give you a concept of how deep I take my vision boarding is, of course, I have, the rendering of Forever Estates and what exactly it would look like. I have Harmonious Existence, the book that I want to create, photoshopped into the New York Times bestseller list at number 1 for 516 weeks. 516 weeks. Like, so I'm not even like, I don't want to have a New York Times bestseller. I want a New York Times bestseller that's sitting there for like 4 or 5 years, and when I look at this podcast, number 1 on Spotify and Apple, I photoshopped it in, screenshot it off the computer, sitting down there in like 58, I screenshot it off the computer and put myself in there at number 1, photoshopped it, printed it out, put it on my vision board. We do exit trophies for the Dyrdek machine, and I have our wall of victory, and I photoshopped in 15 exit trophies to look out into the future. It's me sitting in my actual throne with the actual exit trophies on my vision board. That's how just far I have taken it, as it relates to like what I am willing to put in the detail. I made a fake cover of Architectural Digest. That is Forever Estates, and it says, I even did the subtitles, and it says Living Amazing Forever with Rob Dyrdek. What? Yes, I know you're like, what is this? Like, this guy is like out of his mind. And I would argue that depth of getting clear on what you want that outcome to be keeps pulling me towards it. I keep $1 billion bill on that vision board. I keep $1 billion bill in my wallet. Above that $1 billion bill, it says, I run a $1 billion company. Next to that is a full rendering of a forever office that is the Dyrdek Machine Fantasy Factory 2.0. With Dyrdek Machine like logos on the side and the way I want the roof deck and big letters on the front. It's like a full rendering of the forever office. I run a $1 billion company, cover of AD, millions of books sold, like number 1 podcast, like all of these things in detail laid out on what I want the future to become. That is how you get clear on a vision and use the tools of something like a vision board, even if you are a grown man, to continually inspire you and keep you in the details of where you want to go, that allows you to continually optimize the strategy so that you can achieve anything that you can conceive, because that's really what it's all about. And you know what it is, because we broke it down today. You gotta have a vision, you gotta have the strategy, you gotta take the action. Until next time, see it, believe it, do it.